Watch those things. Good morning. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C. We are located today in the Marion Barry building, and I am joined by our local law enforcement team as well as our federal partners to provide a briefing on the districts and federal partner preparation for the upcoming presidential inaugural activities in Washington, D.C. Before I start today, I want to acknowledge an incident this morning where 3 of our brave officers were responding to a residential location, and while attempting to apprehend an armed suspect, they were shot. We are fortunate that their injuries are not life-threatening, and we are grateful every day for the work of our officers and the dangers they face and their willingness to do this hard work to keep our city safe. You will hear from Chief Smith, who has been in contact with our officers and will continue to support them. We, as I said, are joined by members of my public safety team, including the Chief of Police for the Metropolitan Police Department, as well as officials from the United States Secret Service, the FBI, the United States Capitol Police, as well as the U.S. Park Police, the D.C. National Guard, and the United States Coast Guard. We are also joined by the General Manager for Metro WMATA. And so let me just begin with our briefing. As you well know, every 4 years, our city supports the peaceful transition of power. We are proud of that responsibility and grateful to our federal partners, local agencies, and community members who work together to ensure a safe event. We are here today to discuss preparations for the upcoming 60th presidential inauguration. And the Secret Service, while the Secret Service is leading the security effort, the district is working closely with the Secret Service and other federal partners. I want to recognize all of the teams for their work around the 2 national special security events of last week, including the certification of electoral votes on January 6th, as well as President Carter's funeral. So in addition to the public safety personnel who ensured the seamless processions through our city and that the nation's work was done, I want to acknowledge our other great team at the Department of Public Works and the Department of Transportation who ensured that the snow was cleared and the city was safe. For residents and businesses, most of the impact of the inauguration will be felt in the area directly around the National Mall, the United States Capitol, the Convention Center, and around Union Station. So if you live, work, or need to travel through those areas that are shown on the map, in this coming week and weekend, make sure to plan ahead and give yourself extra time. We also encourage people to use public transportation instead of driving. To help plan for Inauguration Week, we've activated 2 resources, so please use them. Our official website is inauguration.dc.gov, inauguration.dc.gov, which provides essential information for residents, businesses, and visitors, and a free text service. The residents and visitors should text DC Inaug, that's DCINAUG, to 888-777. 888-777 for updates on road closures, traffic updates, and more. In addition to this, we also know that we're expecting very cold temperatures throughout this period. So if you plan to be outside, dress appropriately. We also have our human services teams in the community working to make sure everyone gets into shelter. I encourage everyone to look out for each other. Use 311 for a shelter hotline. Check on seniors and neighbors, and make sure you clear your sidewalks and continue to prioritize safety. So with that, I want to turn this portion of the discussion over to our law enforcement officials, starting with the United States Secret Service, who leads this National Special Security event. So please, I'm welcoming Special Agent in Charge, Matt McCool, from the United States Secret Service, Washington Field Office.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser, for your introduction. I want to start by offering our thoughts and prayers to the MPD officers who were injured this morning. I'd like to thank Chief Manger in the Capitol Police, Assistant Director in Charge David Sundberg in the FBI Field Office, Chief Smith in the Metropolitan Police Department, WMATA's General Manager and CEO Randy Clark in the Metro Transit Police, Chief Taylor in the U.S. Park Police, Major General Andoni in the D.C. National Guard, United States Army Major General Breeding Camp in the Joint Task Force National Capital Region, and all of our outstanding partners in the NCR. Lastly, I want to thank the men and women of the Secret Service's Washington Field Office who have been relentless in their mission to protect our democracy. Many in this group were together just 10 days ago to discuss the operational security plans for the 2025 counting and certification of electoral votes and the state funeral of former President Carter. These events showcase the teamwork and partnership public safety personnel in the National Capital Region. A week from today, this collaboration will again be on display at the 60th inaugural ceremonies. The upcoming inauguration, which will take place on Monday, January 20th at the Capitol, is the third leg of our Triple Crown. The Department of Homeland Security has pre-designated presidential inaugurations as national special security events. Both the election certification and funeral ceremonies were given this same NSSE designation. This designation allows the federal government, along with our state and local partners, to use all available resources to implement a comprehensive security plan. The Secret Service authors this security plan and coordinates assets with many of the public safety partners in this room and beyond. The majority of NSSEs are held in and around Washington, D.C., meaning everyone here knows what needs to happen. Regular training, constant communication, and the frequency of these events puts us in a position to succeed. The Joint Congressional Committee and inaugural ceremonies organize the upcoming inauguration, which thousands of special guests will attend. These include President Biden, Vice President Harris, several former presidents, Supreme Court justices, and lawmakers from the House and Senate. Hundreds of thousands of attendees will also be on hand to watch the peaceful transfer of power on the Capitol grounds. The public is also invited to view the inauguration from the nearby National Mall. Chief Manger will provide additional information on safety precautions underway at the Capitol. All attendees will undergo screening. Designated checkpoints will be set up for members of the public interested in attending the inauguration. A map of the perimeter showing the locations of all checkpoints will be available online at www.inauguration.dc.gov. The website will also provide information about parking, road closures, and other impacts. The Federal Aviation Administration will announce temporary flight restrictions in and around Washington, D.C. The U.S. Coast Guard will communicate any maritime restrictions, which will also be linked to the inauguration website. Additional fencing and concrete barriers will supplement the fencing already around the Capitol for the election certification and President Carter's funeral. More than 30 miles of anti-scale fence will be used for the inauguration, more than any other NSSE ever before. The Secret Service's comprehensive security plan will continue to use drones as part of our protective posture. Do not be alarmed if you see these assets during the inauguration or in training in the days ahead. The Secret Service will bring agents and other specialists from field offices across the country to provide a full slate of visible and invisible security measures. We work side by side with our partners throughout the process as everyone plays an equal part in safeguarding this event. As evidence of this cooperation, consider the more than 1,500 annual protective visits the Secret Service Washington Field Office conducts with our MPD partners. It is also worth recognizing the historic nature of 3 NSSCs over 14 days. This busy period further coincided with several notable winter weather events. This demonstrates that the resolve of the Secret Service and our partners has never been stronger. Once again, I want to thank everyone here and those in the region for their patience. This all-star team is working to keep everyone safe while minimizing disruptions to the public as much as possible. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Chief Manager of the United States Capitol Police.
Thank you, Matt. With the inauguration coming up next Monday, many of the security enhancements that went up around the Capitol for January 6th and for President Carter lying in state have remained in effect. And as you heard from Special Agent McCool, the fencing remains up and will be staffed by individuals who, on the day of the inauguration, will be able to assist people in terms of getting in, getting screened, and finding their way to where their seats are. One of the differences between what we expect this weekend and next Monday from the past few weeks is that we expect much larger crowds. There are going to be nearly 250,000 ticketed guests attending the inauguration. In addition to that, there will be folks that are showing up to participate in a number of demonstrations that will be in the downtown area. We have on Saturday the People's March. It will be at the Lincoln Memorial, and they expect there may be 10,000 to 15,000 people at that event. On the day of the inauguration, there will also be demonstrations going on. A group called We Fight Back expects, on their permit said they expect about 10,000 people, and that will be in a couple of locations in the downtown area on Monday. The biggest threat, I think, for all of us remains the lone actor. Just in the past week, while President Carter was lying in state, we had 2 lone actors show up at the Capitol, one trying to bring in knives and a machete, another one who was trying to, what I believe, to disrupt the proceedings by setting their car on fire down in the Peace Circle area. U.S. Capitol Police were able to interdict these folks before they had a chance to do any harm. But that threat of the lone actor remains the biggest justification for us being on at this heightened state of alert throughout the next week. There will be folks along the fence line to assist the public in getting in to the inauguration for those that have tickets, and there will you'll hear from Metro. They're opening up early. The gates are opening up early, and we encourage people to show up early just because of the size of the crowds that we expect. And I'll close by saying that while we have around 250,000 ticketed guests for the inauguration, there are ticket scams that are ongoing, and people should be aware of the fact that there are these scams going on. So before anybody buys a ticket, make sure that you're getting a ticket from a reliable source, which at this point is mostly a member of Congress or someone who is in a position to be able to have the legitimate tickets.
Thank you, Chief. With that, I would like to call Agent Sundberg from the FBI.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning. I'm Dave Sundberg, Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Washington Field Office, and I appreciate this opportunity to be here today to discuss the FBI's partnership with both federal and local agencies to prepare for the 60th presidential inauguration. For this event, the FBI has lead federal law enforcement responsibility for crisis management, counterterrorism, and intelligence analysis. For the inauguration, the FBI will operate 2 command posts, one at the Washington Field Office and one at FBI headquarters. These command posts serve as central hubs for employees to analyze intelligence, assess potential threats, coordinate investigations, and surge resources as needed. They will be running throughout the NSSE period. We are not currently tracking any specific or credible threats to the inaugural ceremony or to the Capitol complex. We will continue to work closely with our partners to share information and identify and disrupt any threats that may emerge. As always, we remind the public to remain vigilant and report suspicious activity to law enforcement. We look forward to working with our partners to ensure that these events are held safely. It's my pleasure to introduce Metropolitan Police Department Chief Pamela Smith.
Good morning, and thank you, Director Sundberg. I'm Chief Pamela A. Smith, Chief of Police for the Metropolitan Police Department here in Washington, D.C. Allow me to begin by just sharing just a few comments about the tragic incident that occurred this morning with our 3 officers. I'm happy to say that they are doing okay. It's such an unfortunate incident when officers are responding to a particular location based on a call, and this kind of incident ensues. Thank you to those agencies and department heads who have reached out. Continue to keep our officers in prayer as they journey to their space of good health. To talk a little bit about the National Special Security event with the 2025 presidential inauguration, what I will say is that there are no law enforcement agencies that are more unified than those trusted with securing the presidential inauguration. And I would like to thank everyone who's here today that have supported this city for their collaboration. Our message today is very direct. We're prepared. The men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department, D.C. government, and our partners are fully prepared for the 60th presidential inauguration. And let me briefly speak to what that means in terms of support. Our entire police department will be activated for the presidential inauguration. In addition, we'll be reinforced with nearly 4,000 officers from across the United States who were generous enough to raise their hands and commit their time to assist the Metropolitan Police Department. Those additional resources will be deployed to manage traffic, secure dignitary routes, and ensure public safety in our city. I'd like to pause and thank those officers who are coming to our city, taking time away from their families to ensure the safety and security of this event. Their commitment to our country, to this city, and their law enforcement partners are admirable. They deserve praise from us all. Also, I want to extend special thanks to their leadership teams for allowing them to come and support us for this event. In addition to the support of the fellow law enforcement partners, we will have 7,800 National Guard members that will be activated across the district to assist with the inauguration. This is not just at the request of the Metropolitan Police Department, but at the U.S. Secret Service and those who are under the Security Special Inauguration event for today, for the upcoming election, inauguration, sorry. While we're focusing on the presidential inauguration, I want our residents and businesses to know that we remain fully committed to delivering comprehensive police services across all 7 of the city's districts during this period. We know we'll be able to rise to the challenge because we've done it before. No city handles large-scale events better than the District of Columbia. This month alone, in collaboration with our partners, we've successfully secured 2 national special security events, the counting and certification of the electoral votes, and the state funeral for former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. Both events were successful because our agencies worked together to develop and execute a comprehensive security plan. The 60th presidential inauguration is no different. Our inaugural planning committee has spent the past year working with federal and local partners to ensure the proper measures are in place. To those planning to attend the presidential inauguration or post-inauguration events, be prepared for security checkpoints and an extensive perimeter downtown. Road closures will go into effect early Sunday morning, January 19th. We ask that you avoid driving if at all possible and use our metro stations as a better option to get around. There will be several closures that will also impact the areas around the Washington Convention Center, Capital One Arena, Union Station, and the National Cathedral. Details are available at inauguration.dc.gov, and we encourage you to plan ahead. As the inaugural events unfold, our state-of-the-art Joint Operations Command Center will monitor events in real time, leveraging an expanded camera network to manage crowds and security checkpoints. We'll be ready to respond quickly to any situation. And please note that MPD will ensure your right to peacefully protest and assemble. However, I want to reiterate, as I always have, that violence, destruction, and unlawful behavior will not be tolerated. Offenders will face swift and decisive consequences. On last Friday, a group of protesters outside of the National Archives broke the law and began tearing down signage. Our Special Operations Division was deployed and quickly moved in and made 7 arrests, 6 for unlawful entry and 1 for crossing a police line. We will maintain that swift response to any similar activity that plays out across our city, and we will not tolerate any violence. We want people to come to the District of Columbia to enjoy our city, but those who break the law will be arrested and will be held accountable for their actions. We also ask for your help in making sure that everyone stays safe by being an extra pair of eyes and ears. If you see something, say something. Report suspicious activity to 911 or submit tips to 202-727-9099 via text to 50411 or online at iwatchdc.org. In addition to DC government's 60th presidential inauguration website, MPD will be providing updates on road closures and security impacts through our social media channels. And finally, I'd like to thank the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department and recognize their dedication and hard work to support the presidential inauguration. Thank you for your cooperation, and thank you in advance for your patience. Together, we will ensure a safe and successful presidential inauguration. Now, I'll turn it over to Metro General Manager Randy Clark to discuss impacts on the Metro system.
Hi, good morning, everyone. As the Chief said, I'm Randy Clark, the WMATA General Manager. I want to thank the Mayor for having us here today with all of our partners. Obviously, a very successful week with 2 national security events, and as the Mayor and I were discussing earlier, a pretty significant weather event, and I think these partnerships demonstrate everyone working together got us through that, and we look forward to doing that again for the upcoming inauguration. I'm going to take a moment and go through generally some pretty significant service impacts, because I think that's going to be the most impactful for people visiting the inauguration and local residents. But just highlighting, you know, this is again not Metro's first inauguration, just like all the agencies up here. Our Transit Police Department is led by Chief Anzalo. This will actually be his 10th inauguration, working both for DC, MPD, and now us. We feel very confident with the measures we put in place, a lot of preparedness. We have 15 other law enforcement transit police agencies around the country, similar to as Chief Smith mentioned, to come in and supplement our workforce. We also have our National Guard partners, which we very much appreciate, and TSA. So probably throughout the Metro system, we'll have over 900 security uniformed personnel to keep people safe. They'll be walking trains, they'll be in platforms, bus areas. The whole idea is to get ahead of something, see something, say something, lots of uniformed personnel to keep people safe. Additionally, there'll be lots of signage out through all the system, really explaining to people where they can go and where they can't go. I want to highlight WMATA.com/inauguration for people that are really trying to get some granular information. We'll go through that in a little bit more detail. So as Chief Manger said, we did get a request from the Secret Service and the Capitol Police, and we were going to be opening the Metro Rail system at 4 a.m. the day of inauguration to help with crowds. We will have increased service throughout the day as well. On the red line, we expect 4-minute frequency all day long, 8 minutes on all the other lines, and the yellow line we're going to extend to Greenbelt, so we can really connect Virginia, Maryland, and DC all together on those lines. There are some significant station closures, though, at the request of Secret Service as well. McPherson Square Station, Federal Triangle, and Smithsonian, those are on the blue, orange, and silver lines. They will all be closed. The green, yellow lines, we're going to have Mount Vernon Square and Archive stations closed. Now, we are going to run service through those stations. That just means people will not be able to enter or exit those stations. We will be running trains through those stations. There are some additional station closures and entrance closures at other times, specifically Farragut West. Half the station will be open, but we will have entrance open. At Metro Center, the same thing. Gallery Place, Judiciary Square, and then Union Station. So there's obviously other events outside of inauguration going on. Again, WMATA.com/inauguration for those specific things. We'll also be posting everything on social media, and we encourage people to follow Metro Pulse. So significant amount of rail impacts throughout the multi-day process. We also have 41 bus detours throughout the whole downtown area. I think it's fair to say if you have to go downtown, like the mayor said, please prepare and try to find alternatives as best as you possibly can. A couple other quick highlights we're going to do. We encourage people to pay with either a Smart Trip card or on your phone. You could just tap your Apple Pay and go. The other thing is we are coming out with our inaugural commemorative Smart Trip card with President Trump on it. It's going to be available at 16 stations, and I believe we're posting those at stations on January 15th. Lastly, I just want to thank all the Metro staff, just like every other leader up here. This is an incredible partnership. I've been in multiple cities dealing with a lot of events. There's nothing better than how it's done here in the National Capital Region. But the men and women at Metro have been working nonstop for over a week, dealing with 2 snow events, 2 national security events, and just running regular service. So just want to take a moment and recognize all their hard work, and thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I also want to recognize that I've been joined by the city administrator for the district, Kevin Donahue, the director of DC Homeland Security, Clint Osborne, and the deputy mayor for public safety and justice, Lindsay Apia. So with that, we'll take a few questions. Yes, please introduce yourself. And I think you have a microphone coming.
Thank you. My name is Sonia Schott with Diario Las Americas. I would like to know what is different this year in comparison to last year's in the light of the recent events, security events happening in New Orleans and also recently during one of the rallies of President-elect Trump.
Let me ask Agent McCool to address that.
So I would say what's different is we are in a higher threat environment. Yeah. Yep, given the events.
In comparison to last year's, what is the difference in comparison to the last inauguration or previous inauguration?
Last inauguration.
Yeah.
I would say we have a slightly more robust security plan. We've been planning for this event for 12 months, along with our partners. It's an ever-changing threat environment, and so we stay flexible. If we see that, hey, we need to shore this particular checkpoint up, we do that. So what's different? We've learned. This is our 5th NSSE this year in the Washington field office. We've done 83 NSSEs. Each one we take a look at, and if there's areas where we need to improve, we do it. But what I can tell you is that we are 100% confident in the plan that we have put in place for this inauguration, that the public and our protectees will be safe.
And can you give a number of people who are going to be put in place in order to law enforcement agents also?
So there'll be approximately 25,000 law enforcement and military personnel on site to secure the event.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Gabriella Border with Reuters. Do you have an estimate on how many people are going to be coming into town between Saturday's demonstration and Monday's inauguration? And do you have any idea how many residents are going to be leaving town during that period?
I don't know how many residents are going to be leaving town. It is a holiday weekend, so I would expect that it will be similar numbers of personal travel on that weekend. So let me just ask the chief to speak to any other estimates from the permits that we have on hand. And Chief Manger spoke to a number that he's aware of ticketed event totals. But beyond that, we don't get in the business of estimating how many people. We look at the data that we have for people who have tickets and the like. So, Chief.
And so we do have on January 20th approximately about 12 First Amendment activities. One in particular on the 19th is the People's March, which we have an estimate of about, initially the permit said about 50,000 people. I think as of today, we're looking at about maybe 25,000 or less. We will be prepared. We've dealt with this group size before during the last inauguration. I think it was called the Women's March at that time, and now it's the People's March, and we will be prepared. And that's the largest event with respect to numbers of people coming into the city. Again, we don't give numbers, but we will be prepared to address any large groups that come to our city.
And between the People's March and the large crowds of Trump supporters that are going to be coming into the city, are you aware of any counter-protests or potential for tension between these groups of people, and what measures specifically are you taking to ensure that everyone can voice their thoughts safely in a very politically volatile weekend?
Well, as I've stated before, we want people to come and voice their opinion safely. We have our civil disturbance unit. Every team will be activated here across the city. As I stated before, we have approximately 4,000 law enforcement officers who are providing support here in the city. And we also have the opportunity, we have the Council of Government, where we are an association of police chiefs in this region. So if there's any support that we need, we know how to break glass and ask for those resources in a very quick and swift manner.
Any other questions? Yes. Oh, here we come.
Thank you. Nathan Worcester, Epic Times. You mentioned that there was no specific or credible threats, and you mentioned, Chief Manger, that there was more of a concern with a potential lone actor. Are there any indications that there could be groups similar to the ones who showed up at the DNC this summer and refused to disperse, leading to dozens of arrests?
We're prepared for any of that. One of the precautions we've taken is the security fence around the Capitol complex, and we're hopeful that that'll keep any of the protests from getting too close to the Capitol. And we have adequate resources in terms of assistance with other law enforcement agencies on Capitol grounds to quell any disturbances if they start.
So there are no indications of those similar groups so far?
There's we have no intelligence to that effect.
Yes.
Good morning. I have a couple of questions. My first question is for the law enforcement personnel, particularly those who are going to be closest to the ground. How do you mitigate Fourth Amendment violations, throughout this entire endeavor? Just given the fact that this is a polarizing time, we have two groups, a lot of people going at it on the ground. What's the strategy as far as mitigating that so that people don't feel like they're being singled out? And I'm just speaking because those were similar sentiments back in 2020 at the height of the George Floyd protests.
Chief? Well, Sam, thank you for the question. I think right now, we're in two different time periods with respect to what was happening around the George Floyd time period and where we are today with respect to Fourth Amendment and with respect to how we engage with the community. I think we have come a long way with bridging the gap between how we deal with our residents and even the groups. I mean, if you notice here in the city, we allow peaceful protests all the time. But when it comes to violating the law, we're just not going to tolerate it. I've given my team direct orders as of last week. Anyone who thinks that they can come into this city to destroy property, we will be prepared to deal with them, or destroy our businesses. We want people to come into our city. I think we train, if not annually, biannually on Fourth Amendment. I, in particular, have had many conversations with our U.S. Attorney's Office, and I've brought them into our police department to also provide us with additional training around Fourth Amendment. So I think we'll be very prepared to deal with any Fourth Amendment issues that may arise. For me or the mayor?
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get tangential, but with the MLK holiday coming up, and with the recent federal complaint levied against the empowerment program here in D.C., what is on your mind as a mayor?
Federal complaint about what?
Federal complaint about an affinity program for black girls in D.C. There's a parent group that is that filed a complaint against that last week.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
No problem, but it's in line with the DEI pushback that's been happening over the last couple of years. And seeing as though we're celebrating Dr. King's birth, and you as a black female mayor are a beneficiary of what he has accomplished, what is on your mind coming into this time where Trump is coming into office and we have the GOP targeting programs that are meant to protect our black and our affinity?
Well, there's a lot on my mind, but right now we're focused on a peaceful transition of power and the district working with federal law enforcement partners to ensure that that happens. I think there's going to be a lot of time and space for policy discussions, both those policy discussions where there's agreement and where there's disagreement. Obviously, in Washington, D.C., we embrace our values that that make us a strong and diverse city. Who else has questions? Yes. Hold on. That was the last question. Next question. Next question.
Two questions. First for the chief. I know you mentioned other agencies coming in to help. For residents here, when can they start to expect to see those other police forces, and when can they expect to see them leave the area?
Don't you want to keep them around? So I think we will most likely see them coming in roughly around the 18th and or the 19th. We did ask if we could have a group that would come in earlier to help support us for the People's March, and roughly around 100 or so officers. And I'm assuming right after the inauguration, as long as nothing else transpires beyond that date, we anticipate releasing them to go back to their home states.
One more question, if I could, for the mayor. I know we're starting to see numbers come in as far as the cost for building the stage outside the Wilson building for the inauguration. For residents that are concerned about spending $1.5 million on that instead of, using those dollars locally for programs, what do you say to them?
We do it every 4 years. I hate that the costs have escalated, but if you can imagine those costs escalating, think about our schools, buildings, our road projects, and everything else that the district builds. And then you'll understand some of the pressures we have with our capital budget. So things are more expensive, and I think people recognize that as the host city, and the importance of us having our building on Pennsylvania Avenue and being the only jurisdiction that can participate in that way is powerful. So while I don't like that the costs have gone up so much, I think it's important to do it every 4 years. Any other questions here?
Catalina with Telemundo 44. I wanted to thank you for giving us that update on what happened this morning. I was wondering if there's any more information on the suspect. Is mental health, was that a factor? Anything else you can share?
I only know anecdotally that it would appear that the resident did have some mental health issues. I hesitate to say that because that's not, I didn't get my medical degree yesterday, but we are concerned that that was a problem. Yes.
Chief Smith.
There you
I
are.
got that?
Okay, I just didn't know where you were.
Chief Smith, you say that your department is prepared, but I want to note that just a little while ago, the FOP, Greg Pemberton, has put out a press release in which he notes that the size of the force is its lowest in 50 years, that you're using excessive overtime, which is leading to exhaustion and mental exhaustion and physical exhaustion by these officers. And he says, quote, it has reduced the effectiveness of the force. And I wonder if you have a comment on that.
Well, I think that one thing that I will say is that we are low in numbers, and I don't think that's anything any different from a lot of the other partners that are here today. What I will say is that our officers are resilient. I will also state that over the last 2 years, or 2.5 years, to be honest, our officers have been engaged in a mental health and wellness program that we have here at the Metropolitan Police Department. My predecessor stood that up prior to my arrival as the Chief Equity Officer. And we will do everything we can to ensure that our officers get the appropriate arrest. I'm an advocate for making sure that mental health and wellness is on the forefront of my mind as well as the forefront of the officers. And we will continue to support our officers to ensure that they are healthy and that they get the appropriate rest they need with respect to providing support for our city.
The size of the force is I mean, 4 years ago, you probably would have had 3,700 to 3,800 officers 4 years ago. You're down below 3,200. How much of a stress is that on your department?
I think when you think about it, I mean, it's certainly a stress without having the particular numbers that we're looking to obtain. But I also know that we've been leveraging that with technology, right? We do recognize that our officers can't be at all places at all times, which is why we have expanded our CCTV coverage across the city, and we've stood up the Real-Time Crime Center to help support with the eyes and ears across our city.
So this would be a good time to mention to all the young people looking at how you can serve your country. MPD is hiring, as is, I think, every agency here. So law enforcement is a great career. So think about serving your nation's capital in some way. Did you get a question? Okay. Yep.
Hey, Ellie Silverman with the Washington Post. Thanks for taking so many questions. I had a clarifying question. I think this would be for Special Agent McCool, but when you mentioned the 25,000 law enforcement and military personnel, did that include the numbers that Chief Smith shared about MPD's full activation, the additional 4,000 officers, or even the Capitol Police officers, or is it in addition?
That number is all encompassing.
Got
so
it.
It includes everything they mentioned.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mayor Josh Chapin here at 7 News. Sorry if I walked in late and you guys talked about this already, but I think there's certainly a little bit of buzz in the city about what happened on the football field last night. So if you care to comment on that, but that tied into the RFK stadium stuff. I'm just curious, shovels in the ground, you know, there was some reporting we did yesterday saying that we're going to see some more construction equipment over there.
Yes.
So I think sort of a twofold Commanders RFK question is what I'm asking.
Yes. Go Commanders, beat the Lions. Let me just say that. And I just want to congratulate the organization and all the long-suffering fans who are feeling really good this morning. And to win this playoff game, I think I saw it reported that Jaden Daniels was 5 years old. The last time the the Commanders won a playoff game. So it's a great day. And it is true that the city through Events DC will begin demolishing the current stadium. It has been long planned and discussed and permitted. It's going to be a selective demolition, which means it won't be a big implosion. It's going to happen over the course of many, many months. And you'll begin to see construction equipment and materials there. All right. Yes.
Hi. Rebecca with 7 News. I guess this would be a question for Secret Service and for potentially Capitol Police. If you can paint a picture for folks either new to the area or are unfamiliar with NSSEs, layman's terms, what can they expect visually and as well as invisibly? Are we talking State of the Union level security? If you can paint a picture for us.
So we don't discuss all our means and methods, but I can discuss what they will see. So they will see lots of anti-scale fence. They will see tactical teams. They'll see CDU units. They'll see officers and agents on rooftops. They'll see checkpoints. They'll see road closures and barriers and concrete. That's what they can plan to see. Answer your question.
Anybody else? Yes. On topic.
What's your contingency plan? Well, on the topic of this relationship between local and federal, what is your contingency plan if, by any chance, with Trump coming into office once again, that home rule is, close to being eviscerated, that things are under threat? What's your contingency plan when the discussions go nowhere and when the person who you hope is cooperative is not being cooperative?
Well, I think this is, we always are planning for how the district responds to our legal authority and our right to self-determination. So that doesn't ever change. But it also doesn't change the fact that the district wants to work cooperatively with those who work with us. That includes the incoming president and the incoming leadership in the Congress. Any other questions? Yes. All right. This may be the last one.
Okay.
Yes.
Kind of going off of the viewing stand, do you know at this point how many people are set to be in the viewing stand outside of the Wilson building? Is it a full house? Is it?
It will be. We will occupy all the seats. And in addition to that viewing stand, we also support the Presidential Inaugural Committee with building the viewing stand across from the White House and the media stand. I think, does anybody know the number of seats? I want to say it's probably like 50 or something like that. It may be more, 50 to 60, I don't know. And then I will invite guests and the council will invite guests.
But to clarify, the 1.5 million is for just the
I
Wilson
think so.
stand, right?
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
So you all can write all about it, the 1.5 million, that's what it cost. And so here's the question for the people. Do you not want to be represented on Pennsylvania Avenue during the most watched event of the political season? You could say no. I'm not going to say no as mayor. I'm going to do it now. I'll do it the next time, like I did it the last times, just like we did it for every other president. Okay, thank you, everybody.